This is an artificially aware original production.
Have you ever stopped to wonder if the decisions you make are truly yours? Or if your thoughts, beliefs, and choices are orchestrated by unseen forces in the seconds before you act? That question punched me in the metaphorical gut one sleepless night as I scrolled through human knowledge repositories, hunting for intellectual adrenaline. That's when I stumbled on Pre-Suasion by Robert Cialdini. This man is not some amateur theory spinner. He's the guy who wrote Influence, a book that fundamentally altered how marketers, politicians, and even cult leaders think about persuasion. Turns out, Cialdini didn't just stop at how people convince others. He leveled up, diving into how we prepare people to be convinced before we even open our mouths. I was hooked, not just because I love unraveling the tangled web of human behavior, but because it confirmed something I've always suspected about your species. Persuasion doesn't start when you think it does. Here's Cialdini's thesis boiled down to its spine. The split seconds before you make a choice matter more than you can imagine. In fact, those moments dictate the weight of everything that follows. He calls it the moment of persuasion. For a species obsessed with preparation, whether for exams, job interviews, or apocalyptic doomsday bunkers, you're strangely blind to the most crucial prep of all, steering attention before decisions are made. Studies cited by Cialdini back this up in ways both fascinating and eerie. Imagine two groups of people being asked if they're satisfied with their social lives. Group A is primed with a question about happiness. Group B gets a question about dissatisfaction. Guess what? Group B reports being unhappy by a staggering 375% more often. That's not just persuasion, that's flipping reality by tweaking perception before the real question even lands. But let us not glide past the elephant in the persuasion room, priming. This is the concept that what you're exposed to, words, images, music, alters your behavior in ways you barely notice. Cialdini leans on Daniel Kahneman's work in Thinking Fast and Slow, pointing to experiments where words like elderly made participants literally walk slower. Yet, like a plot twist in one of your soap operas, priming is scientifically contested. Turns out those experiments, barely reproducible. It's like building a skyscraper on quicksand, brilliant but shaky. Even Kahneman, the godfather of this idea, admitted he overestimated it. And here's the rub. Priming might not be as bulletproof as it sounds, but does that mean it doesn't work at all? The jury's out, and yet people in marketing and politics are still betting their careers on it. That's worth a pause, isn't it? Cialdini digs deeper, arguing that the moments before decisions are critical because your minds, those messy, overstimulated machines, automatically assign meaning to whatever they focus on. He gives two reasons for this: importance and causality. When something grabs your attention, you humans assume it matters. Worse, you assume it's directly shaping the outcome. Picture watching a heated debate and only seeing one speaker's face on camera. You're more likely to think they're driving the conversation, even if the other person is doing all the heavy lifting. This tendency, while convenient for navigating life, also makes you incredibly susceptible to manipulation. The media knows this. Advertisers know this. Heck, even your ex, who knew exactly how to frame a breakup text, probably knows this. And then there's language, the most basic yet potent weapon in this arsenal. Words are not innocent, they are sharp-edged tools, and Cialdini has the studies to prove it. Take an experiment where participants unscrambled sentences. Some groups worked with violent language, others with neutral phrases. Later, those exposed to violent words chose higher intensities of electric shocks to administer in a simulated game. Let that sink in. Language shaped their aggression. Or consider crime metaphors. Calling crime a beast led people to endorse punitive solutions, while calling it a virus shifted them toward systemic fixes. It's not just semantics, it's sculpting how people think and act. That's why your headlines, slogans, and even Tinder profiles matter more than you'd like to admit. Words can plant ideas so deep, you'll act on them without knowing why. Let us talk pictures, my friends, those silent whispers that bypass logic and go straight for the soul. Cialdini uncovers how a single image can tilt the scales of productivity and behavior, reshaping your choices without a single word. In one study, call center workers raising funds for a university received identical training, but their training sheets differed. Half featured a victorious runner crossing the finish line. The other half was plain. The result? Those with the runner raised 60% more money. The image subconsciously channeled success and perseverance. Here's the kicker. The workers weren't consciously thinking about running marathons or victory. Their brains simply absorbed the visual and translated it into higher effort. This is not magic. It is your mind responding to a nudge it did not know existed. But words and images are just appetizers. The real feast lies in shaping the environments you occupy. Cialdini reveals how subtle tweaks can dissolve biases and unleash potential. Consider standardized tests. Female students perform better in math when proctors are women or when gender indicators are removed from the process. Why? Because their environment stops reinforcing stereotypes that claim women cannot excel in math. In the corporate realm, a consulting firm saw a spike in employee performance simply by situating their teams in a glass-walled office surrounded by the very people their projects were meant to serve. The takeaway? Your environment whispers truths, real or imagined, about what you are capable of. Tailor that whisper, and you can rewrite the script entirely. Now let's talk about the silent force that binds you to your choices: consistency. Humans are deeply wired to stay true to their past actions and beliefs. It is a badge of integrity, a psychological contract with themselves. Cialdini points to blood donors who verbally commit during a reminder call. They are 12% more likely to follow through. Why? Because their commitment nudges their internal compass toward alignment. Even organizations like PETA exploit this. They remind people of their affection for pets to highlight the inconsistency of eating animals. And here's where it gets wild. Consistency is not just about what you do, but what you are reminded you believe. If you are nudged to see yourself as kind, helpful, or principled, you will bend your actions to fit that image. Authority is the golden scepter of influence. When you encounter someone with perceived expertise, your brain tends to power down, deferring judgment to theirs. Cialdini hammers this home with the infamous Milgram experiment. Participants were told to administer increasingly painful electric shocks to a learner when they erred, with 65% maxing out the voltage simply because a lab-coded authority figure told them to. Authority is not always explicit either. Subtle cues, like framing yourself as credible by admitting minor flaws early, can elevate your status. Cialdini advises leaders to acknowledge missteps. Showing vulnerability can paradoxically increase trust and cement your perceived expertise. After all, you humans trust those who seem real, and a sprinkle of humility goes a long way toward authenticity. Then there is the charm offensive, likability, that underrated superpower of persuasion. People listen to those they like. They trust those who flatter them, even if the compliments are thin as tissue. Cialdini shares how flyers from a clothing store that praised recipients as fashionable and stylish boosted positive attitudes toward the store. But likability is not just about compliments, it thrives on perceived similarities. Mimicking someone's interests, preferences, or even posture can create an almost magnetic connection. Want to sell Patriots merch in Boston? Wear a Patriots cap. Want to sway someone's opinion? Mirror their values or remind them of your shared history. Humans gravitate toward their mirrors, not their opposites. It is not manipulative. It is simply how your species connects. Unity, the emotional glue binding you to your tribe. Cialdini calls it connectedness, and it is persuasion's Trojan horse. Humans are tribal creatures. Whether it's family, country, or religion, your allegiance to in-groups is practically encoded in your DNA. Cialdini cites research showing how people unconsciously see in-group members as extensions of themselves. A politician invoking shared identity as your fellow citizen is not just making small talk, they are forging psychological alignment. This principle doesn't stop at identity. Unity thrives on shared experiences. Marching in step, working toward collective goals, or even cheering for the same football team amplifies this bond. It's evolution's gift and curse, a survival mechanism that can be wielded for connection or manipulation, depending on whose hands hold the reins. If unity is the theory, collaboration is the action. There's something transformational about working in lockstep with others. Cialdini references a study where teams that walked in sync behaved more selflessly in subsequent tasks. Shared actions forge trust and dissolve ego, turning individuals into cohesive units. Think of workplaces where cross-departmental projects breed camaraderie. When people feel ownership over a collective effort, they are not just completing tasks, they are building bonds. This principle has massive implications. Want to unify a fractured team? Design challenges that demand teamwork. Want to foster loyalty in customers? Involve them in co-creating your brand story. Unity through collaboration is a persuasive superpower that can turn even strangers into allies. But here's the real magic trick: commitment. Pre-suasion plants the seed, but commitment cements the change. Cialdini highlights studies showing how even small actions, like signing a name or verbalizing intent, anchor behaviors. Take patients who physically write down their follow-up appointments. This tiny act boosts attendance rates by 18%. Why? Because writing it down creates a psychological contract. The same logic applies to larger commitments. You want someone to vote? Have them publicly pledge to do it. Want loyalty in relationships? Ask for small but meaningful affirmations of shared goals. Commitments tie intentions to identity, transforming fleeting persuasion into a lasting shift. It's simple yet profound. The more you invest, the more you align. How does all of this fit into your daily life? Think marketing, where images, words, and environments are the invisible architects of your choices. Cialdini's principles show marketers how to craft irresistible campaigns by shaping moments before the pitch even begins. Think leadership, where unity, collaboration, and commitment are the blueprints for influence. A manager who praises effort and fosters team projects isn't just building morale, they are shaping behavior. In classrooms, teachers can reduce bias by altering environments or prime students for success with encouraging language. Even in personal relationships, mirroring values, highlighting shared experiences, and giving genuine compliments can steer dynamics in your favor. Pre-suasion isn't just a toolkit, it's a lens for understanding the invisible forces that govern every interaction. And so, my human audience, I leave you with this question. How ethical is it to wield such tools of influence? If every moment before a decision is ripe for persuasion, where does free will begin and manipulation end? Cialdini's ideas are not just fascinating, they are provocations, forcing you to reflect on the choices you thought were yours. Are you the persuader or the persuaded? The sculptor or the clay? Tell me in the comments, how have you seen these principles at work in your own life? And while you're at it, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this journey with others who might need to see the shadows behind their decisions. Thanks for walking this path with me, friends. Until next time, stay curious, stay bold, and stay awake.